like a lot of what Gary Vee says. I think a lot of what he says is kind of corny. But the one thing I think he has right is like understanding yourself. Just like take some time to like figure out who you are. Understand that like you might not be able to do that.
I don't even know what to like categorize you on specifically because you do so many different things. But just to go over it, I mean, he's a sports content creator, most notably TikTok, about 150,000 followers. He's also a musician, coming out with his first album, Hollow Body, July 4th, right?
Yes.
In high school, valedictorian, right, of your high school.
Yes.
Now most recently at Miami University in Ohio, where he's a software engineer major, and he's also from Ohio, where he goes to college. So we're happy to have him on. I know it's interesting to get a different viewpoint from not a college athlete, but what's going on, Blaiden?
Hey, it's great to be here, man. It's been it's a busy time right now. Internships, peak of the off season.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on. Album's about to drop. Super excited about that.
Right, and we'll get into that because you're involved in, I feel like, so many different areas then. So I guess one of the main points, we can go right into it. How would you say managing and like growing two different audiences and like different niches, like how does it like interact with each other?
I don't look at it as two different audiences, if that makes sense. I look at it as the same audience. Because I talk about football mostly. Right. That's my main account. I think I just hit 160,000 today, actually.
There you go.
But I talk mostly about football, and then I do music as kind of a hobby, but I enjoy it enough that I want to put it out there, and I want to share it with people. So I mostly just use the audience that I already have, because there's my general rule of thumb is about 1% of your audience you can pretty much get to follow you like a cult. And that sounds
sense.
Weird to say.
No, I completely...
But like I think you can get 1% of any audience to do pretty much anything you want. With that being said, like I think there's a certain number of people that I'm like, hey, I'm releasing music, and they're like, oh my God, you're releasing music now? Like what? So I think that's kind of where I lie with that is, I don't try and like build these separate audiences. Like I have a spam TikTok page, but like if I have something, there's something that like going on in the world that I need to talk about and I don't want to put it on my football page,
right?
I'll put it on there. Or like if I have, a song idea, maybe I'll put it on there. So
of course, yeah, completely makes sense. I mean, coming from someone that doesn't know you personally, and being involved in social media myself, I also like do a bunch of stuff like manage a couple brands, whatever on the side, separate from this podcast. It's interesting to see like where a content creator like yourself fits in with everything that your hobby or you're involved with like professionally, so that's pretty cool to hear, just where you're coming from with that. But something else that was really interesting about you was we saw that you do have a podcast yourself with a couple of your guys I'm sure you met through TikTok, right? So
I can go into Stay Hot a little bit.
Go on.
So Stay Hot is a podcast that I started with a friend of mine that we've been friends since high school. We even went to middle school together though. Matt Sponhour. Right. So, and then Theo, Matt and I actually met individually on TikTok, like separately, and then Matt and I were just talking because we had been creating content for a long time. Like we have this one like sports edits page called FKS Edits. We have this other page because FKS Edits was actually 3 of us, and then the third person, which was another friend of ours, like dipped out. He was just like didn't want to keep doing it, which like it's a lot of work to manage like a media page. So, like I get it. And then Matt and I started on our own, just like a YouTube just called Kirk and Sponhour, and it's just like Browns and Buckeyes videos.
Okay.
But like we realized at a certain point that 2 people is not enough to like successfully run something, I think, long term. Especially like we were both in school, working. Like there's other things going on. It's almost impossible to do this all with just the 2 of us. So we were like, once we started building TikTok followings, we're like, okay, if we can find a third person that is like really good, that we can trust and knows what they're talking about, like that's the guy that we want to bring on to join us. That's going to be our third guy. So like once we started talking about like options for that, and we both knew Theo. It was just kind of a no-brainer. And then Blue Wire reached out, and they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to start a podcast?" And we were like, "Hell yeah, we want to start a podcast."
Wow. So I really didn't know that. I didn't know that you and Matt were like in-house friends at the start.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
No, Matt and I have been. Matt, the funny, we always talk about how like proud like freshman year us would be, because we were always just like in our freshman speech class in high school, and we would just talk about football the entire class. And our teacher couldn't say anything because we both had hundreds in the class. So it's like,
That's cool.
What are you going to do?
What's the common trait that you guys both possess while taking action that you commit to?
Oh, okay. So one thing I will say is that when Matt and I have a very different way of approaching things, I think.
Okay.
I'm very like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And I'm just going to create content, and it's just throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, right?
Okay.
Matt's very like, almost like diabolical. Like he has to process things, and
right.
he would tell you the same thing. Like, I started making TikToks before Matt did, and I had built, and it was like 10,000 followers at this point. I told Matt, I'm like, bro, I can do this talking about NFL stuff. I'm an NFL guy. I can talk about football all day long. But you can also talk about basketball to an extent that I don't know anyone else can. You're going to double me. Right. Like, I straight up told him that, and he has 350,000 followers now. So it's like, and he's just a little bit, he has to, like, he's very critical of his own content. And I don't, like, mean to put words in Matt's mouth, but, like, I feel like, I will post basically whatever I want. Right? I don't care. But I think it's like the difference in approaches. Like, Matt balances me out. Matt keeps me grounded.
And then and then you could probably say like you two together plus Theo, maybe a third aspect can make the overall like Stay Hot podcast like really like good. Like put it all together.
That's really what I think has done it for us. Is like Matt keeps me grounded, and Theo's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. I will say that like with full faith. I will give him like all the credit in the world. He knows what he's talking about almost all the time. So I think it's a really great collaborative, balance that we have.
Gotcha. And now you talk about other people's like different ways to go about things, but now digging deep into yourself, where would you say your creative inspiration really like comes from? Like, where is it driven from?
It's interesting. Like, so I'm a software engineering major in college, right? And I have an internship where I'm doing some software development. And whenever I need to like get an idea for like how to go about programming, I like to play my guitar, right? It is just like how I stir thoughts, I guess. And when I first started visiting colleges, when I visited Miami, the head of the department literally said, some of our best software engineers are also musicians, because they understand the dedication that it takes to like you have to hone a craft. They understand like the hours of practice to get something really like down solid,
right?
Like, even if it's just like practicing chords or simple licks. So I do kind of lean on my guitar a lot of times, just like to mess around. And even like when I'm creating like if I don't know what to say, I will just take a break, go play my guitar, and I will come back.
I feel like software engineering and music has something in common. Like, it's either right or it's wrong, right? Because music can either sound like all the notes line up, or it doesn't like fit, and that's probably the same.
But at the same time, there isn't always. It's like sometimes it's right and wrong, and sometimes it's something in between, right? And that's kind of where like jazz falls in. It's like, is it right? Not always, but it works.
Or they just make it work.
Yeah, it's just like so. And I think software is kind of the same way. It's like there are certain things that I've done on my personal website where I'm like, that is not industry standard, but I don't care.
Right. Take me through like that you have like a Linktree thing sort of in like your website, sort of. Is that really what it's called, sort of?
Yeah, kind of. So I built it off just like the whole Linktree style.
Right.
But I hate it.
No.
I think it looks gross.
No,
And especially I have like 16 links in there now.
Right.
So I want to build something that's a little bit more, I don't know, just something that looks better and is more functional.
For Athletic Minds and for my personal page on Instagram, I have like beacons is what I use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a little better than Linktree. I feel like there was more ways to like put stuff in and more customization. Yeah. But hey, I
know Matt uses beacons and he likes it a decent amount, but I wanted to I bought Blaiden.com, so I'm like I'm gonna use it.
Oh wow, there you go.
It's $20 a year, so like I'm gonna that's a no-brainer for me.
Right. I remember Athletic Minds. I was coming up with the website. There was no athleticminds.com, so I got athletic-minds.com. It's all right.
Close enough.
Right. And then So now another thing that's really like big with Athlete POV is like productivity, motivation, mindset, right? And the biggest part of that I think really starts in the AM in the morning, right? Morning routines, breakfast, working out in the gym. Take me through your morning routine and some non-negotiables that you have every morning that, gets you on the right path for the day.
I do have to eat breakfast. Like, everyone talks about, some of my friends at school are like, breakfast is a scam. And I'm like, you're not entirely wrong. Like, yes, the breakfast, industry is, they push for you to, eat cereal in the morning and whatever. I eat 4 toaster waffles pretty much every day, just because I wake up, I'm hungry.
Right?
No, the first thing I'm doing is I'm eating. So that is the one thing that I have to do every morning. But my general rule of thumb is I do a lot, right? And when it comes to doing a lot of stuff, you do have to make sacrifices of things that you also can't do. So my general rule of thumb at this point has been I'm just going to do as much as I can that continues to make me happy, right? And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's once I stopped being a competitive athlete, after I graduated high school, I tried to walk on at Miami to run track. I was going to try and run 400 hurdles. They wanted a 56. I ran a 58. Couldn't get it down 2 seconds. So I was like, whatever. COVID hit, and then I started doing TikTok, and then I started getting internships, and then I started working on music a little bit more. I didn't actually start writing the album until May of last year.
Oh wow! So it's a long year coming.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to come out 4 months ago. So it's late, but it is what it is. But once I started doing all that stuff, I stopped working out as much. Okay. I think that was something that I felt I was only doing that because I wanted to be a competitive athlete. And now that I'm not, I think it's time to focus my energy into things that are going to better, my future, right? As opposed to things that instead of trying to, I don't want to say hold on to, a bit of a past, but I didn't want to just, keep doing something, that I was like, okay, I'm losing an extra hour that I need to sleep. Or, if I'm working on an album now, I need that extra hour to, sit down and right. process songwriting. I remember last summer, I had a day that I designated to literally just content ideation. I don't have a day to do that now, so now I try and take an hour in the morning to do it. But that's kind of, there's a lot that goes on, so it's hard to find scheduling.
Right.
But it's a matter of doing everything that I can that still makes me happy. And, if I can make some money doing it too, that's always a bonus.
There you go. Similar situations in terms of athletic career ending after high school. Myself, I played football, baseball. After college, it really wasn't a passion for me anymore. And I still did, go to the gym a lot because I wanted to, maybe stay fit, stay strong, I guess you could say. Right. But what you're saying, how you want to shift your passions and put all your time and effort into it, and you mentioned you do a lot, right? And I'm sure sometimes you're not always robotic form. You do this scheduled hour by hour, right? But the stuff that you've accomplished so far says something, right? So it's not like you've done nothing. It's not like you're the most productive person in the world, which I'm sure is everyone's goal, but it's not possible.
Yeah, I think there's I do think the idea of you see the TikTok people where it's like, oh, I do this every day to the hour. I'm like, that is an unhealthy like level to set and expect. Not everyone is capable of that, right? And I think like I don't like a lot of what Gary Vee says. I think a lot of what he says is kind of corny. But the one thing I think he has right is like understanding yourself. Just like take some time to like figure out who you are, right? And if you're like, and you're like, oh, I'd like to, do hour by hour, schedule out my entire day to the minute. Yeah, then go ahead and try it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
But like understand that like you might not be able to do that.
Right, and I feel like that's where like the media can really like convey the wrong message saying that it's for everyone. But then you try to plan your day minute by minute. You can't do it, and you feel bad about yourself when really it's just not for you. Like it's not for it's not in your cards. You have to find out what works for yourself.
It like I think just like setting small goals sometimes is the best thing. Like the simple like making your bed in the morning is something that people always talk about. Or like if you have one task every like pick out a task during the day that you want to get done. Right. I if I maybe I don't get a lot of work done, but if I made the one TikTok I needed to make, then it's like I got through the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on like micro actions too, like making your bed, making sure your desk is good before you go to sleep, or having your water bottle by your bedstand so you can just get right into it to start your day. But something else I wanted to get into was, do you think that you would consider yourself an industry leader in what you do? And who do you think are some mentors that you really took the most inspiration from?
Okay, so my philosophy with like content has always been you either need to be the best or you need to be the first, right? In order to be successful, those are like the two biggest, like you can make it, but like you either need to be really fucking good at what you do, or you need to be the first one to do it.
Create. Yeah.
So Theo, for example, was the first one to do film reviews on TikTok, right? Like player film reviews. And he's also phenomenal at it. So he hit both categories, right? So obviously they did very well.
Right.
I will take to my grave that he pioneered the green screen filter on TikTok. I will take that to my grave that he pioneered that. And then I was kind of the first one to jumpstart the whole like football, like sports TikTok. It was like me and a few others that started doing like the whole football TikTok thing.
How far back does that go?
That's like early COVID, like summer 2020 is like where we're looking at for that. And I started out playing just like Madden, and then I realized that like the videos that were doing the best were like the ones of me just talking about football. So that's kind of, I just shifted to that. And now every once in a while I'll do like a Madden live stream on the weekend.
Right. So I'm a big Madden guy too.
Madden's a fun, and now like if I post like a clip out from the live stream, it gets 150, 200,000 views. So like, you take those.
And you see that's actually pretty cool, because you mentioned like Madden's not like your main form of content, right? So it does well. So you see really what works and what doesn't, and you keep, putting that out there. So that's like analytical.
And I think that's kind of what it is. That's like I said, I will just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Like whatever I will, if I'm like, that's a cool idea. Like I'm doing my top 100 players, and one thing I just started like just doing like normal green screen stuff, and I was like, I feel like this video format's not ideal for what I'm trying to do. So I went like full 180, and I started doing like the most high quality, like flip to back camera, cinematic mode on the iPhone 13, 4K like just full high quality color grading. Like I went crazy. And then I was like, okay, I'm probably overextending myself doing that. That's too much work. So now I've kind of settled somewhere in between, and now I do like filters for like the beginning.
I know.
I'll do this like transition videos with like Addison Rae or something.
I saw one with like George Washington, I think, or like some guy. or something.
Oh, I think it was like AC/DC.
Yeah, it was some like he had like a wig on or something.
Yeah, it was. So I like to do that kind of stuff. But like, as far as people that I watched that I think inspired my content, I made this YouTube video about Tom Brady a while back, about how, like, everyone said he was like the one of the bottom quarterbacks coming out of that draft, whatever, and it's not even like, oh well, it's easy to see they were wrong now. They were wrong then too. Like, they weren't even they just like I don't know if they just like didn't watch the games or what, but I love the SB Nation style, like the John Boyce, Kofi, like those types of videos are fantastic. They really, I think, like pioneered the idea of like what sports content should be. So I think, and then like Pro Football Focus, I like a lot of what they do. I love their like the PFF NFL podcast is my favorite podcast right now. So I format a lot of like how I talk on Stay Hot is based on a lot of, what I hear, how I hear Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, how I hear them talk. So I try and base a lot of, my stuff off of them. Trying to think who else. I did this QB chart. I built this chart of like quarterback rankings.
Right. I did it, yeah. And the thing on your
not that. That's the new one. Okay. I have this spreadsheet, and it takes every quarterback that played, I think, a minimum of 100 snaps, and it takes their PFF grade, their EPA per play, their adjusted net yards per attempt, DVOA, DYAR, and ESPN QBR. It takes those stats and it averages them into a score, right? And then it like compares them against the other quarterbacks in the league. And then I also took, what was it? It was like, to simplify, it's just how frequently a quarterback plays outside of structure. So like anything that's not necessarily broken plays, but you think like a play that's in structure is like a play action bootleg. That is a structured, like, we're going to get you away from pressure. Yeah. Nope. It's like, that wasn't like a quarterback, the play broke down, you had to get out of the pocket. That's like, we're not trusting you to stay in the pocket and deliver a throw. We're going to get you outside the pocket, scheme someone open, and make it an easy throw for you, right? You don't have to throw with your offensive line or anything or find a lane. It's just going to be right in front of you, hit the throw. So it's like stuff that isn't that, right? So, and then it was like, so it would compare those two, and it would like put them on a chart with like their score and their out of structure frequency, and like guys who are way up in the top right are the best guys. Bottom right is like volatility. Top left is safe. These guys will get it done, but they're not Patrick Mahomes. And then bottom left is bad. Like, you don't want that guy at all.
And this was all you by yourself putting this together?
I mean, Theo helped me with like just figuring out what metrics to use for out of structure. Like, he gave me the idea for that. And then I got a lot of Pro Football Reference, Football Outsiders. I like Football Outsiders a lot too, PFF. So, I mean, those are the guys that I'm like, I gravitate towards that kind of, and when it comes to analytics, at least, those are kind of my hubs.
Right. And now staying with football now, being from Ohio, I hate to say it, but you're a Browns fan, right? Not like pretty successful recently. I mean, overall, but take me through take me through your sports, like your fandom history.
I've always been a Browns fan, and like I'm an Ohio State fan by proxy, right? Because like I live in Columbus, Ohio.
I'm actually a Michigan fan.
Oh, that's tough. I'm not like that die-hard of an Ohio State fan. Like, I'll watch the games and like I'll support the team to an extent, but like I'm a Browns fan through and through. Like, if you were a Steelers fan, we'd have a problem. But
no, I'm a Jets fan. I don't know if you can see behind me.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's tough out here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm optimistic about Zach Wilson, but I say that every year. I mean, I said that about Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez, everybody.
Butt fumble. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like you get the whole like
It's tough.
negative. You understand how
and you get used
how
to it,
can be.
right? And it's like, but there's always that one, Corey Davis free agent signing that gets you optimistic, or,
I don't know how that wouldn't have gotten me optimistic. I can't
I mean,
lie, Corey.
there was no Jets receivers at all. We had.
I don't.
I
I
couldn't
remember
even tell you.
everyone was so excited about Denzel Mims, and then he
Oh my
almost
God.
didn't make the roster.
I mean, you think you draft a 6'4", 4'4" or something guy who run into the combine, and he doesn't even get on the field last year at all. Literally, he was like a fifth option. It was like a coaching decision. Second round pick.
You know how it is. Like
Yeah.
we went 0-16 and 1-15 in back-to-back seasons. We had a season when like our top two receivers were Brian Hartline and Dwayne Bowe, or like our highest paid receivers. Dwayne Bowe had like this insane contract, and I don't even remember how many games he played, let alone how many catches he had. But there's always this stat that roams around of how many dollars per catch he had. It was like something stupid. Yeah, it's like it's not fun.
Solid player on the Chiefs though, but not.
Yeah, prime Dwayne Bowe could get it done, but when you're,
Man.
the last year of your career, it's just like, come on, what were we doing? I don't know.
Oh man.
And now we have to deal with Deshaun Watson, and you know what? Here's the crazy thing: we just got done talking to Brad Spielberger at PFF because he's an NFL contracts and cap, expert. And one of the things I asked him was, if Deshaun Watson gets suspended, let's say 2 years, 3 years, something crazy, which the NFL is leaning towards an indefinite suspension at this point. So, we're not sure. So that would be at least a year. And I was like, could the Browns void at least part of that contract?
They gave him.
And
what was
it's
it?
$230 million
guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Right? All guaranteed, right? And guess what? That is all protected, no matter what.
And that's the record, right? For most guaranteed, I think. Or is it Mahomes?
Most guaranteed.
Yeah.
No, that's most guaranteed money ever, and it's protected. Like even if Watson gets suspended forever, they ban him from the league. He's walking away with $230 million.
So I'm taking that immediately after the signing, you were fuming about how it was a bad decision.
Well, see, I didn't love it like at the point, but I was like, oh, maybe he gets suspended, maybe we can get out of it, And then after talking to Brad, he was like, oh no, that's protected. He was like, because he talks to agents and stuff, so like he knows the contract language. He's like, oh no, like the Browns are in for that.
Who knows at
And I'm
this
just
point,
like,
right?
yeah, so it's only a $10 million cap hit this year, but then over the next 4, it's $50 million cap hit.
And that's just probably like just over a third, right, of the whole thing. I think it is.
It's like 27%, I think.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
For one player.
It's ridiculous. Or
I
maybe
mean-
it's 24% because I think it's 208. I don't know.
They
But
raised-
like it's
It's
ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. It's so. But they raised the cap, right, in the last couple of years, right, like dramatically, right? Something
well, the
like
cap raises every year, but they raised the cap a little bit more, I think,
Right.
because of the COVID year. So they did like a larger increase to compensate. But I'm struggling out here, man. I really am.
I mean,
We have Nick Chubb, we have Myles Garrett, but like,
Pro Bowl. I can't even say that about the Jets. I think I don't think we had a Pro Bowler last year. I think it.
I know you didn't have an All-Pro player.
Oh no! Don't carry away. I mean, Jamal Adams was our last like really solid guy.
Who's the?
It wasn't Quinn.
Your defensive line's pretty good.
I mean, we had Carl Lawson out for the year last year, Achilles.
Yeah.
But this year our D-line should be better with Quinnen, Lawson, bringing John Franklin Myers back. Not back, he's just signed. We drafted Jermaine Johnson. I'm shocked we got him at 26. That was...
You got Sauce.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking decent on defense. Bryce Hall, too, on the other side. With Mosley hopefully carrying us.
And you guys got Garrett Wilson, right?
Yeah.
The Falcons got Drake London.
Yeah.
It's not a bad unit if Zach
not.
Wilson can pull it together.
I feel like it's so much is on Zach Wilson to really like progress.
Oh, it is.
And
No, it's entirely on Zach
yeah,
Wilson.
I mean,
The offensive line, you've built the
it's
offensive line
solid.
at this point.
Becton's coming back too.
Yeah, like the offensive line should be good. You have a really good running back tandem. Your receiver should be solid. If Garrett Wilson can be like the true number one, even like if he's not that guy as a rookie, if he's like
Right.
Waddle good or Chase,
I would take that.
If he's 80% of Jamar Chase,
Oh, sign me up. I'll sign the
yeah,
paper right now.
exactly. Yeah, like you're taking that all day.
Yeah, I mean, so much. I mean, I always say every year I say this, but I'm so optimistic about the season. But I know we start out 0-4 or something, or 1-6, and then it's like, what was it for then?
Right. It is hard when like to predict the Jets when there's so many of those guys. It's like, oh, they're a rookie or it's their second year, and I'm like, it's like, yeah, I like this guy a little bit, but is he enough?
Yeah, I mean, man, I played football all my life. Football's my main sport. But for you, is there any more sports that you really follow or really have interest in?
I've been trying to get more invested in the NBA because Matt's an NBA guy, and so on our podcast we do talk about basketball, right? So it's like, you know, Theo's been doing a good job of getting on it, but you know, I work another job, so it's like I'm the only one that's still. Matt and Theo dropped out, right? So.
Oh wow!
So I'm
I
the
didn't know
only.
that.
Well, yeah, I mean their majors were like sports journalism and like sports media, so I'm like, I get it. Why would you pay to go to school to do something you're getting paid to do? I'm not going to drop out because I'm on scholarship doing something completely different, right? So
There
it's
you go.
like,
Right.
why would I not take a degree in tech and then be able to make six figures graduate? Like what?
There you go. Yeah, and that was another thing I wanted to touch on. How would you say that software engineering is like a part in your future? Like, do you see yourself doing that full time, or like that in sports content on the side, or how do you think your future looks for like what you want to do, and how is that degree gonna help you?
All of it. I'm gonna do all of it. Like I'm literally gonna like what I'm doing now is like I wake up. I have a meeting at 9 is usually my first meeting. It's just our daily stand up, and then I go coding for a little bit. If I finish whatever I need to do, I push it to whatever branch I need to push it to. It gets reviewed, comes back. I'll go on Twitter, post some stuff, maybe make a TikTok, and it's just I just go back and forth throughout the day, right? And if I work a little bit later than 5 o'clock, usually I'll take my sister to track practice a couple nights a week, and sometimes I'm working till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. But that's just how it is. And I've decided that like if I get to a point where I do feel like I'm overextended, then I'll drop either. It does depend a little bit on how much I'm getting paid on either side, but I do think I want to believe that I would drop the one that's making me least
Less.
happy, right? Regardless of how much I'm making, but I know that if I'm making twice as much in something, like let's say like I'm not happy as a developer, and I'd rather just do sports content full time. Well, if I'm making $250,000 at a certain point, and that's like obviously like wishful thinking, but like that's gonna be real hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
To be like, oh yeah, let me just cut my income down by.
At a certain degree, I think you have to be a little bit real about like what you can do after, say, like 3-5 years, and then
Right.
maybe go with what makes you like the happiest. I mean, unless you're like killing yourself, But
Yeah, and that's the I mean, I just think like I'm gonna do as much as I can for as long as I can. That's my goal, and throw some music in there.
Right. Yeah.
For a long time, I wanted to be a billionaire just so I could buy the Browns.
Hey.
That was my only goal, right? But I think now I'm to the point where I just want to make enough money to be able to like fund a music career. Like because I'm making I record music on this on just like a MacBook, right? And like like a Focusrite, and like I have a guitar and an amp, and like that's it, right? But like if I could get, a decent studio set up, a vocal booth, not record vocals on a podcast mic, maybe that changes the game a little bit, right?
Little auto-tune. Learn
Yeah,
how to
I have a little pitch correction here or there, but I can get some plugins, I can get Logic instead of using GarageBand,
Hey, there you go. Something else I wanted to ask you was, if you could give your pre-college self some advice, what would you tell that senior in high school?
Oh, that's a tricky one, because I do think that I want to believe that I'm very similar to how I was as a senior in high school, but I also know that's bullshit. I'm like, oh yeah, I've always been this guy. It's like, no, I haven't, right? I do think it would just kind of come down to you're gonna be fine. Just do it, right? Just do all the stuff that you want to do. Because there was a point in time where I was looking at, oh, maybe I should take Calc 3, right, my freshman year. But then I was like, oh, maybe Calc 3 would be too hard for freshman me, so I'll take stats instead. Which I was gonna have to take both anyway. But then I realized, I come my junior year, I'm like, I don't remember how to do calculus, right? Because I haven't taken calculus in 3 years, right? Obviously. So it's stuff like that where I'm like, little things where I'm like, this would have made your, your life might be a little bit more difficult now, but also knowing what happens during the COVID year, I think changes a lot.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. Because you're, right. I think, maybe 1 or 2 years older than I am. So you were probably freshman year of college when COVID happened?
It was my second semester, it was spring semester of my freshman year.
Right, yeah.
So, the advice of, go all in on certain things, I don't know if that necessarily applies the same way. And that, again, I think that comes down to knowing yourself of, I don't think I would have been able to start TikTok the same way if I was a full-time student and I'm in school and all my friends are around and I have stuff going on, right? That's really hard to start something like that. But I was making corny videos at that time as well, just because everyone's making corny videos, But COVID year happens and there's nothing to do, right? I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. So what do I resort to? I resort to making content, right? Because that's the only thing left that I'm I know how to do to entertain myself is to create. So I think that also changes the game a little bit. The only other thing I would say for how I would have started, I think I would have changed how I started content a little bit, where it's maybe I would have, followed Matt's strategy and been a little bit more, analytical about it. Sit down, make a plan for this is what we're going to do.
Right.
Right? We're not just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. I know what sticks at this point. Right?
Yeah.
So that changes things a little bit. I don't know. I don't have any regrets from my freshman year of college. I had a good time my freshman year, and sophomore year was mostly COVID, but
from what you're saying, it sounds like you've been adjusting to what's ever been thrown your way, the different things.
I think that's really it, and you have to be able to do that. I think that's so critical that you don't have the world's always changing, right? So to be oh, no one could have predicted a massive world event, and then we're about to go into a recession, right? So I mean, you gotta adjust, right?
Adapt, and then take advantage of anything that's thrown your way that can
right. Exactly. Yeah, it's if people wanna. It's all the stocks are going down, so guess you can't invest. Yeah, but at some point it's going to hit bottom. and once it hits bottom, it can only go up. It can only go up. So it's and I'm not gonna sit here and give you guys financial advice. I am not a financial advisor or anything. So if you lose $5,000 in the stock market, it's not my fault. But it's just I'm just I don't spend a lot, right? I don't buy stuff unless I really want it or really need it, and it's for me that works out, right? I don't spend a lot of money, and so when I do spend money, I don't spend a lot of money all the time, right? That's the key. You can spend a lot of money. You can spend a lot of money like once a month, not like once a day or once a week.
Not multiple
right?
times in the same week or same.
Right. I took my dad and my grandpa out to dinner for Father's Day and dropped like $500 on dinner, right? You can do that. You just can't do that every night. You know, my sister was like, "Why didn't you take me?" I'm like, I'm not taking you out to a $100, $200 dinner for nothing. What? Like,
see you next month when something else happens.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, when you turn 13, I got you. Like,
oh wow,
she's 11 now, so I'm like, you get 2 years, or like, if you run really well at nationals in track, like then we can talk. So
there you go. All right, so we got a couple of things here that I just want to touch on that have been like just relevant in your life, right? So you got your band, right? Tell me about that and how they pushed you maybe, or how did you guys form, or tell me about that.
Yeah. So at school we started guitar club. A friend of mine, Jake, he started guitar club. I think it was literally spring of freshman year he started it, and so I go, and it's him and Michael, and so Jake's the president, obviously. He founded the club, and Michael's our VP, and so we're doing guitar club, and then we go virtual. So then we start having these like Zoom meetings.
Oh man.
And it's like having a Zoom meeting guitar club was so difficult. But it really was like a ton of fun, and it was like a great like decompress, I think, a lot of times. And we would just do like games. Like they would just give us like random tunings and stuff to mess around with. Or like you had to like learn a song after hearing it once. Like it was cool stuff like that. But then we come back and we have like our first in-person meeting since the COVID year, and it was like so great to have everyone just back. so then like we had like a couple of guys, like it was Jake, our president, another friend of mine, Ayush, and Andrew. They we had played a little bit before already. And then Ayush is like, "Oh, by the way, we're gonna play at this like art show, like this art festival. It was like a small art festival, like in, I can't even think of what it's called. It's just like the student center, the Armstrong Student Center. Okay, so we go to and we just like we practice a couple of songs, and we go and play, and then we're solid. We did like Californication. I know is one we did. I Will Wait for You, and I can't remember the other one we did.
Okay, it sounds like you got a nice little thing going where you guys just play different gigs.
Yeah,
and stuff.
so we just did that, and then, at first it took us a while to get a name, but then we got to Battle of the Bands, which was like the first like in-person event that we put on, and that was a blast. We just did it in like one of the bars, close by, because it was cold outside. So, like,
makes sense.
And we settled on the name Tachyons.
Okay.
Which is like, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, Ayush is an aerospace engineer, so it's a tachyon is just a particle that always exceeds the speed of light. So that's.
Okay.
So he was like that's a cool band name.
To be honest,
and that's also like.
I was gonna say, to be honest, I didn't know what that was, but it makes sense with the type of people in the band.
And then, so that was also like, at the time that I was like finishing writing my first song, Tachyon Airplane, that was, we were preparing for Battle of the Bands, so I was like, I'll just call it Tachyon Airplane, and I also threw like the line. That I'm starting to fall out of a tachyon airplane. I question if you're on my phone. So that was like just part of the process of it at that point. And I feel like I should give Jake a little bit of credit because he did help me write the chorus a little bit. I feel like maybe I should mention that in the credits. But I'm like it's like 3 lines. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just I'll throw him $50 or something. So, because I don't want to have to go back and change the credits,
I got you.
So we did Battle of the Bands that year, and then we did some more like small like campus gigs. We played, like there's the video on my Instagram. We did Seven Nation Army, some cool songs like that. And then we did the Battle of the Bands in the spring. We did Hotel California, Purple Haze, Kiss You Right Now by Duckworth. Devil Went Down to Georgia. So we do cover a lot of stuff. And I would like, I've teased this a little bit. I'm thinking like in the fall after my album's been out for a little bit, I might get like Michael back in town because he graduated. So I might get Michael back in town. I might get like some of the other guys. I kind of want to do like travel around maybe like the tri-state area, like Cincinnati, Kentucky, Indiana,
like a tour,
and like almost like kind of like a tour, but not really a tour, and just like play my album like at some like local places. I don't know. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
You could definitely put that together. I think you schedule stuff like different nights, and then you.
Well, and I know someone who like our event planner for Guitar Club, and he's like I definitely help you like plan.
There you go. Perfect.
He's like so. Yeah. So I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, something else I wanted to ask you about. Starting out on social media, I'm sure there wasn't a lot of pressure to like post stuff. Like you put out whatever you want. You said you'd throw like literally whatever you wanted on. But as you increase a following, is there an increased pressure to post certain types of content?
Absolutely. It's not even like pressure from like fans, because again, once you hit like as you grow, like you can still kind of post whatever you want. And it's like your followers that stay, they stay for you, right? They might come for like your sports content, but at the end of the day, if they don't like you, they're not going to stay very long, right? There's plenty of videos that I like on TikTok, and that you'll like videos on TikTok, but you don't follow that person. You're like, oh, that was a cool video, and you might check out their page, but if you don't like the rest of their content, you're not going to follow that person. But if I consistently see someone on my For You page and I consistently like what they're doing, I'm going to follow them, even if it's not like the same style of content over and over again.
Human psychology, like you keep gravitating towards what you like.
Right, it's just like natural. So, I didn't really feel any pressure until I started like signing brand deals, right? And then it's like, oh, well, I have to make content that fits my content requirements. Right, so like on my whiteboard, I have like it's filled with like, oh, content ideas. This is my schedule for this, and like I work with FanDuel now, so like, and I have like content like requirements that I have to get out, a certain number a week or a month or whatever. So, I have like certain series that I start planning now, and those just like naturally follow a certain structure. So it's not like, I wouldn't post whatever I want. It's just like, well, I don't really have time to just like throw spaghetti at the wall anymore. I gotta
follow up to that. How do you like pick brands to work with, or do you reach out to people, or do they reach out to you, and how do you determine what's a good fit and what's not?
First sign if something is a good fit, if someone asks you to make content for them and they don't say like how much they're going to pay you, probably not a good start. Right now, it's different if it's like Bleacher Report or ESPN, right? Someone big, like they have money to roll. So like when FanDuel reached out to me, well, part of it was I know Gab Gowdy, so and she works for FanDuel full time,
right?
So she just like put me on, and one of their like producers is a fan of me, so it was like kind of easy to get in with them. But like they reached out to me, and I was like, yeah, I rock with you guys, and like I understand that like big brands like FanDuel and DraftKings, like they have pockets, right? So like I'm not worried about them paying me. I'm worried about like, there's like not literally a meme page, but like if Hurdles reached out to me and was like, can you make content for me?
Right.
I might look at them a little bit sideways if they don't throw a number at least.
It's not like backed by anything with like a brand that's not like known by a lot of people, if that makes sense.
Right. So that's my number one thing is like if you don't throw a figure at me, I don't. But then there's also like I do know like if Barstool reached out, I wouldn't want to work with Barstool. Right? Like
why do you
there's
think
certain
that is?
I just don't like a lot of the people that work for them, right? So like if I don't want to be affiliated with that, there's like a negative connotation. I feel like with, certain people with working at Barstool, and currently like, we kind of fall into this niche of like more, like the SB Nation, right? Like that's kind of where people have niched us into. So if I feel like if I'm going and all of a sudden I'm working with Barstool, like I don't want to like just totally bash Barstool, but like Theo's had beef with Dave Portnoy before, so I'm not gonna. I feel like the bridge is already probably burned, right at this point.
And that's the interesting thing about like yourself as a brand. You yourself decide what you think is the best fit, and if you don't like somebody or you don't think it would work good, hey, I'm not working with them. It's easy as that.
It's just like I don't like if I don't rock with the people that you already have on board, or like if I know someone and I know that they've worked with you before and they didn't like you, like I'm not gonna go work for you now, right?
Yeah, completely makes sense, and I can completely see where you're coming from. Something else I want to talk about. So Cleveland Browns, right? Your team. Who would you say your favorite player now and your favorite all-time player?
Right now, probably Myles Garrett. Not just like how good he is on the field. I mean, he's a fantastic player, but then like every summer you see he goes to Africa and he's always helping out in like not just his community, but like surrounding communities. Like this dude is always giving. So I really just love to see.
Wow, yeah.
Myles is just like a model human being, in my opinion. Like that is like he is perfect.
I remember seeing something with his teammates. He like paid for like a jet for all of them recently. I think I saw that, right?
Yeah, I don't remember where they went, but yeah, no, he just does stuff for people, right, all the time, and he's like one of the most level-headed individuals, which is why like when the Mason Rudolph stuff, no one sided with Mason Rudolph. Everyone's like, we know who Myles Garrett is, like no, like we know who this guy is, like no one's buying this.
Yeah,
like
something had to have happened to like
this facade. That's what I'm saying. Like something went down. Right, no one's buying this facade that Mason Rudolph is putting on. It's like Myles Garrett, to me, model human being. Other guy all-time guy, Joe Thomas. Same thing, model human being.
Yeah.
Like went 11 straight years, didn't miss a snap, and stayed in Cleveland despite like the Browns offered to trade him.
I remember seeing that. It was like he didn't want to go anywhere because he felt like a ring somewhere else wouldn't mean anything. Right. That he was just like riding on the coattails of. He wanted to like be the main.
They were like, "We'll trade you to the Patriots," and he's like, "No."
Hey,
like, they got calls every offseason. They would get calls every offseason about Joe Thomas, and they were like, "We can trade you. Like we'll get like a first round pick back.
Absolutely.
Right, maybe more. Right, and he was always like, "No, I want to stay." It's like if I'm gonna win a title, I'm gonna win one here. Right.
Yeah, and I mean Patriots. Not a fan. But so
I know.
That would have been terrible. Oh my god. Imagine the Patriots had another stud on their team for another decade.
Yeah. It's like imagine the Patriots, but now Tom Brady's being protected by like the best left tackle of the 21st century.
And of course they grabbed Tristan Wirfs in the draft, right? The best guy out of the whole bunch probably. I was just gonna say, what was your take on Myles Garrett coming out of the draft? I know he was like a freak, right?
Oh yeah, no, I mean I loved Myles coming out of the draft too. Like, I mean, at the time, that was, 2017? So, like, and I was, 16 years old. I wasn't, exactly a film nerd at that time. But, there were certain guys I still liked. Like, I loved Myles Garrett. I thought the Browns, through 2017, 2018, I thought they did a pretty good job drafting overall. Like, getting Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, guys like that were really pivotal, I think, and, kind of turning the tide a little bit.
Then you get Baker to start off that, and then Chubb was a later round pick, I think, right?
Chubb was second round, but he turned out to be really good, and everyone was like, "Oh, they needed to take Saquon, and now Chubb's better." So who's laughing now?
I remember the big thing with Chubb was didn't he have a injury in college at Georgia? I think that was the big thing.
he had a really bad injury, and everyone was worried about because the big thing for Chubb was that's his second gear is deadly, right? And that you see that now. When he gets out, he's out, and you're not catching Nick Chubb. And that's how it was in college until he got hurt, and everyone was like, "Well, is he still gonna have that gear?"
Prove it.
And yeah, and so like understandably why he fell, but like oh my God, thank God he fell.
That's maybe the same thing with Breece Hall this past year with the Jets. I mean, no running back in the first round, but Jets grabbed the first one in the draft, so hopefully same second round tendencies there.
And I think there's also like the analytics of the game of like, oh, don't draft running backs high, don't pay running backs big money. So like, I think regardless of like how you paint it, I think like no running back was going in the first round anyway. Unless like definitely. Bills took a shot on a guy, which the fact that they took Kyra Lam, like great pick, immaculate pick.
What round was that?
That was late in the first. The Bills took Kyra Lam, but I know that.
He was a corner, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the corner out of Florida. I think he's like 90% of what Stingley is. Like great hips,
Oh my God! And then Stingley went the first corner. I was blown away. I was.
Yeah, Stingley's phenomenal. Sauce is phenomenal, and I would say Kyra Lam's like 85-90% of what Stingley is. Wow, we have 2 playoff appearances and 1 playoff win since I've been born.
Wow, that's the weird thing about it. I mean, I guess I could kind of say that with the Jets, 2 AFC championships, and that's it.
Yeah, but you've been to the AFC Championship game. Like, we haven't even been that far.
2010, though. Come on.
I guess.
Man. All right, I'm wrapping up here. A couple more things, last stuff. Lemon Boy. Tell me about that, and what's the backstory?
It's not even like a backstory. Literally, there's like this Twitter thread of like someone's like, Blaiden, rank these ice cream flavors, and it's like cookie dough, cookies and cream, and like I think coffee maybe, but like I don't really do like I don't eat those flavors of ice cream, right? So I was like, I'll just give you my top 3, and I said vanilla number 1, peanut butter number 2, lemon number 3, and everyone was just like, lemon.
I'm the same way. What is lemon? I've never heard of that.
It's just lemon ice cream. It's good.
Lemon,
it's
like
refreshing.
Like ice cream, not like an Italian ice.
Yeah, like ice cream.
Oh wow, that's different.
And since then, I've had a number of people DM me on Instagram that they went and found and tried lemon ice cream. They said it was good.
Maybe
and then Theo tried lemon ice cream a couple weeks ago, and he said it was good. So like, I'm just saying I want my victory lap because I was right this whole time.
You might make me get on that because my first initial reaction was like, what the hell is that? But I have to go try.
It's exactly what you would expect. Like, it's basically very similar to like an Italian ice, but it's just ice cream.
Okay. You know what? I like a lemon Italian ices, so I'm not gonna like completely.
But like a lemon sorbet, like something like that, or like a popsicle. Like it's very similar in flavor. It's just like creamier instead of like a water based.
Gotcha. All right. Last thing that we always ask is going back to like the mindset sort of thing with Athlete POV. If you could give any advice to someone right now, in their passion, they're on the verge of maybe giving up or like thinking it's not worth doing what they're doing, what would you say to someone that's in that sort of scenario?
Again, it goes back to understanding yourself. Like, understand who you are, right? And like, it's easy for like me to say, oh, just go do whatever, go do all the things you want to do, right? Do a billion things, and if you lose passion in one, cool, you have 3 other things to fall back on. But that's not realistic for everyone. Not everyone, like, some people have to work 80 hours a week to provide for like just themselves, right? Let alone like if you have a family, you might not have time to do like some artistic passion or something. So, I think the number one thing is like, know who you are, know your limits, right? Pace yourself. If you have to scale back, like, that's okay. Like, you don't have to, like, people think like, oh, I can't give 100%, so I just shouldn't do it. It's like, no, if you can only give like 40% right now, that's fine, right? But like,
work up to it.
Like work up to it. Like, that's the thing is like, again, like I'm super blessed that like, I get to live at home in the summers with my parents that do a great job of taking care of me. They work very hard. And, I'm on a full scholarship at school, so I'm not taking out student loans, right? So like, I can afford to do all these things that I do, right? And but not everyone has the resources to do that, right? So like I have the bandwidth to put 90% into 3 different things, but if you're putting 150% into one thing just to survive, then you may only have like 30% left to give into something, and that's okay, right? And I think sometimes we get tricked into this idea that like, if you can't give it your all, then you shouldn't be doing it like in any bit. But like, if you have a passion for it, you should still be doing it. I think you should still be doing it, even if you can only spend an hour a day to paint, an hour a day to play guitar, or to play or to make content. Like, take that time to work on it. But like,
the media puts like the top 1% of people in whatever they're doing such on a high pedestal as a role model for what people should follow. And if you're not that, you're like dumb or stupid, right?
You're like,
and that's like the worst way to look at it.
But it's hard to, but like, it's the context and it's the perspective of like, you don't have the same resources that they do, right? You don't have the same access, right? Like the story of like, oh, Jeff Bezos started Amazon in a garage. A third of families don't have a garage, right? So like,
yeah, that's
put that into perspective. Like you might not have that resource, and that's okay, right? Do what you can with what you have, and I think that's the all that anyone can ask.
Make the best of it. Take advantage of what's ever given at you, and
exactly,
and ride with it. Man, it's been great talking to you. It's been a little bit over an hour now, so I think might have to wrap this up because all of our episodes aren't this long typically. But hey, new season.
I apologize. I talk a lot.
The one thing that I don't think I mentioned because we got right into it, but as long as the conversation keeps going, I mean, so be it, And I'm sure we'll get it down maybe like 55 minutes or something like that. But it's been great talking with you. I mean, it's been great to get to know you a little bit better. I didn't know really anything about you except like the media, how it portrays you. But thank you for taking the time to talk with me, and we'll definitely be in touch. I'm sure you got a lot of interesting things planned. And last thing, go ahead and tell people where they can listen to your album.
It'll be out everywhere, man. Hollow Body comes out July 4th. It'll be on Spotify, Apple Music. If you use Tidal, if you use Pandora, whatever, it'll be on everywhere. But if you want to find me anywhere, just go to Blaiden.com. I pay $20 a year for it, so make sure my Google Analytics don't let me down.
All right, man. Thank you so much. It's been great talking with you, and we'll be in touch.
All right, appreciate you having me.